You ever notice how some cities feel like they're fading right before your eyes? Streets once packed with people now stand empty, businesses shuttered, and entire neighborhoods abandoned. What happened? Crime skyrocketed, jobs disappeared, and economies crumbled, turning thriving cities into places you wouldn't dare walk alone at night. Some cities are sinking under financial ruin, while others are drowning in crime and despair. And the scary part? Some of them were once among the most promising in America. If you live in one of these places, you might want to start packing. Here are the 10 fastest collapsing cities in America. Number 10, Detroit, Michigan. At first glance, you might think you've stepped into a post-apocalyptic movie. Boarded-up houses, abandoned factories, and streets so quiet it's eerie. But this isn't a Hollywood set. This is real life. This is Detroit. Once the beating heart of America's auto industry, this city was unstoppable until it wasn't. Between 1950 and today, Detroit's population has plummeted from 1.8 million to under 620,000. That's a 67% drop. Jobs vanished, crime surged, and entire neighborhoods became wastelands. The city even filed for the largest municipal bankruptcy in U.S. history, $18 billion in debt. But here's the real kicker. Some parts of Detroit look like war zones, yet luxury developments are popping up downtown. So, is it recovering, or just leaving its poorest residents behind? Would you dare live here, knowing over 40% of the population lives in poverty? Keep watching. This is just the beginning. Number 9. Cleveland, Ohio. Imagine walking down streets where half the buildings are empty, businesses long gone, and homes left to rot. Feels like something out of a horror movie, right? But guess what? This is Cleveland. Cleveland was once an industrial powerhouse, but its economy collapsed, leaving behind a 30% poverty rate and one of the highest crime rates in America. People are fleeing, fast. Over the past 70 years, the city has lost more than 500,000 residents. That's more than half its population. Gone. Some neighborhoods have become so neglected that the city has spent millions just demolishing abandoned houses. And here's something crazy. Did you know Cleveland was ranked the most distressed city in the U.S.? It's like a slow-motion collapse happening right in front of us. So, what's next? Will Cleveland bounce back, or is it doomed? Before we move forward, make sure to subscribe so we can keep bringing you eye-opening content like this. Now let's talk about a city that's crumbling under crime and poverty faster than you'd believe. Think your city has crime problems? Think again. There's one place where the crime rate is 5 times the national average, where entire communities have vanished and the downtown feels emptier by the day. And no, we're not talking about a ghost town in the Wild West. We're talking about a major American city. Stay tuned. Number 8. St. Louis, Missouri. You hear sirens wailing, streets feel deserted, shops are boarded up, and entire neighborhoods look like they were abandoned overnight. No, this isn't a dystopian novel. This is St. Louis. At one time, St. Louis was a thriving city, home to industries, commerce, and a strong middle class. But now, it has the highest crime rate in America. Yes, higher than Chicago, higher than Detroit. The violent crime rate here is a staggering 5 times the national average. Imagine walking down the street knowing there's a 1 in 50 chance you'll be a victim of a violent crime. Would you feel safe? And it's not just crime that's hollowing out this city. The population has been in free fall for decades. St. Louis once boasted 850,000 residents in its prime. Today, that number has plummeted to just 286,000. More than 500,000 people have packed up and left. Why? Because jobs disappeared, entire industries collapsed, and the city never recovered. Even the iconic Gateway Arch, a symbol of westward expansion, now stands over a city that's shrinking, not growing. Businesses are shutting down, schools are closing, and even the people who've lived here their whole lives are saying, enough is enough. But here's the scariest part. Experts predict St. Louis will keep shrinking unless something drastic changes. So is there any hope left for St. Louis? Or is it destined to be another name on America's growing list of failed cities? Keep watching, because the next city on this list might be even worse. Number 7. Baltimore, Maryland. If you've ever watched The Wire, you already have a glimpse of what's happening here. But guess what? It's even worse than you think. Welcome to Baltimore. At one point, Baltimore was one of America's most important port cities, booming with industry and opportunity. But today, the numbers don't lie. The city's murder rate is one of the highest in the nation, and over 30% of the population lives in poverty. That means nearly 1 in 3 people here are struggling just to survive. And the population? Just like St. Louis, it's been plummeting. Baltimore has lost more than 35,000 residents in the past decade alone. That's like an entire small town vanishing. Neighborhoods once filled with families and businesses now stand empty, with abandoned buildings turning into drug dens and crime hotspots. But here's something that'll really shock you. Baltimore has more than 16,000 vacant homes. Entire blocks look like ghost towns, yet the city is still pouring money into revitalization projects that don't seem to be helping. Meanwhile, corruption runs deep, with multiple city officials, including mayors, caught in scandals. So, what went wrong? Why are so many people fleeing? And more importantly, is there any way to fix it? Before we move forward, make sure to subscribe so we can keep bringing you these eye-opening reports. Now, let's talk about a city that was once thriving but is now sinking under crime and economic collapse. And the worst part? Nobody is talking about it. Stay tuned. Number 6. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Something's wrong. Entire neighborhoods feel frozen in time. Boarded up houses, failing businesses, and crime on the rise. But guess what? This isn't some small town in the middle of nowhere. This is Milwaukee. At one point, Milwaukee was an industrial giant. Jobs were everywhere, families thrived, and the city was growing fast. But today, it's a completely different story. Milwaukee is now ranked one of the worst cities for Black Americans, with staggering racial disparities in employment, education, and home ownership. Over 25% of the population lives in poverty and crime. It's out of control. The violent crime rate here is nearly 4 times higher than the national average. And here's something even crazier. Milwaukee has been called the most segregated city in America. Entire communities are locked in cycles of poverty with little chance of escaping. Schools are failing, businesses are closing, and the city feels more divided than ever. The population is declining too. More people are packing up and leaving, looking for opportunities in safer, more stable cities. Milwaukee once had a booming middle class, but now it's struggling to hold on to its own residents. Some neighborhoods have become so abandoned that the city has spent millions tearing down vacant homes just to stop crime from spreading. But the real question is, can Milwaukee turn things around, or is it doomed to keep falling apart? Stick around because the next city on this list is facing an equally brutal decline. Number 5. Buffalo, New York. Imagine living in a place where winters are brutal, job opportunities are vanishing, and the economy just won't recover. Sounds rough, right? Well, welcome to Buffalo. Buffalo was once a booming city, thanks to its location near the Great Lakes and its strong manufacturing industry. But today, over 28% of its population lives in poverty, making it one of the poorest cities in America. Businesses have closed, wages are low, and the cost of living is rising, leaving many residents stuck in financial ruin. But here's the kicker. Buffalo is one of the snowiest cities in the country, averaging 95 inches of snowfall per year. That's over double the snowfall of Chicago. Blizzards shut down entire neighborhoods, making life even harder for struggling residents. And the population? It's been shrinking for decades. Buffalo once had nearly 600,000 people, but today it barely holds on to 275,000. What happened? The collapse of the steel and manufacturing industries in the 1980s left thousands jobless, and Buffalo never fully recovered. Entire neighborhoods fell into decay, and the city's crime rate skyrocketed. Today, some areas are so abandoned that homes are selling for as little as $5,000. So, is Buffalo on its way back up, or is it beyond saving? Only time will tell. Before we move forward, make sure to subscribe so we can keep bringing you these eye-opening reports. Now let's talk about a city that's shrinking so fast, it might not exist in the next few decades. And the worst part? Most people have never even heard of it. Stay tuned. Number 4. Pine Bluff, Arkansas. The streets are eerily silent, houses stand abandoned, businesses are boarded up, and entire neighborhoods look like they've been frozen in time. But this isn't some forgotten ghost town. It's Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Not long ago, this was a thriving southern city, fueled by agriculture, industry, and a once strong local economy. But today, it's in free fall. Since 2000, the population has dropped by nearly 30%, making it one of the fastest declining cities in America. And this isn't just a slow decline. People aren't leaving, they're fleeing. Why? Crime is out of control. Pine Bluff consistently ranks among the most dangerous cities in the country, with a violent crime rate 5 times the national average. Think about that, 5 times higher than most American cities. Residents live in fear, businesses can't survive, and even law enforcement is overwhelmed. The city has struggled to maintain a strong police presence, making it a dangerous place to live and work. But crime isn't the only reason people are leaving. The economy is in complete collapse. Once a hub for industry and agriculture, Pine Bluff has seen jobs disappear, wages stagnate, and poverty skyrocket. The poverty rate here is a staggering 30%, meaning nearly 1 in 3 people live below the poverty line. Imagine trying to build a future in a place where opportunities are vanishing before your eyes. Would you stay? And here's the real shocker. Experts predict Pine Bluff may never recover. Schools are shutting down, infrastructure is falling apart, and outside investment, virtually non-existent. The city is trapped in a vicious cycle. Businesses won't come because of the crime, and crime won't improve because there are no jobs. It's a city left to decay, with fewer and fewer people willing to fight for its survival. So here's the big question. Is Pine Bluff beyond saving, or is there still hope? Some believe revitalization efforts could turn things around, but with more people leaving every year, time is running out. Stick around because the next city on this list has a similar story, but on a much bigger scale. Number 3. Memphis, Tennessee. Something doesn't feel right. This city has a legendary music scene, rich history, and deep cultural roots. But look closer and you'll see the reality. Memphis is in serious trouble. Once a booming hub of commerce and opportunity, Memphis has now earned a far more chilling title. One of the most dangerous cities in America. The violent crime rate here is nearly 6 times the national average. Yes, you heard that right. In 2023, Memphis recorded one of the highest murder rates per capita in the entire country. That means higher than Chicago, New York, and even Los Angeles. If that's not a wake-up call, what is? But crime isn't the only issue. The economy is falling apart. Memphis was once a powerhouse for manufacturing and logistics, but today, jobs are disappearing, wages are stagnant, and nearly 30% of the population lives in poverty. That's almost 1/3 of the entire city struggling to survive. And with fewer economic opportunities, crime and instability only get worse. And here's something even more alarming. The city is falling apart. Decades of neglect have left entire neighborhoods crumbling, with abandoned homes, failing infrastructure, and streets riddled with potholes. Schools are underfunded, businesses are closing, and public services are stretched thin. It's a downward spiral that seems unstoppable. So what are people doing? They're leaving. Memphis once had over 650,000 residents, but its population is shrinking fast. Families who've lived here for generations are packing up and moving to safer, more stable cities. The ones who stay, many are just trying to get by in a city that feels less livable every year. But what really happened? How did Memphis fall so far, so fast? More importantly, can it be saved? Or is it destined to become another American ghost town? Before we move forward, make sure to subscribe. Your support helps us keep bringing you these eye-opening reports. Now let's talk about a city whose reputation is known worldwide. Some say it's the heart of the Midwest. Others call it a war zone. But is Chicago really as bad as people say? Let's find out. Number 2, Chicago, Illinois. Something about this city doesn't feel right anymore. A skyline that once symbolized power and prosperity now casts shadows over streets filled with fear and uncertainty. But guess what? This is Chicago. For decades, Chicago was the beating heart of the Midwest, a city of industry, culture, and opportunity. But today, it's one of the most dangerous cities in America. The crime rate here has spiraled out of control, with over 700 homicides in 2023 alone. That's more than entire countries see in a year. And it's not just gun violence. Carjackings, robberies, and assaults have skyrocketed, making some areas feel completely unlivable. And the economy, it's crumbling. Major businesses and corporations are pulling out, leaving thousands jobless. Companies like Boeing, Caterpillar, and Citadel have all left the city, taking millions of dollars in tax revenue with them. Without these industries, unemployment is climbing, and many neighborhoods are falling into complete economic despair. But here's what's even more shocking. People are leaving by the thousands. Chicago has lost nearly 80,000 residents in the last 3 years. Families who've lived here for generations are packing up, heading to safer, more affordable places. Even lifelong Chicagoans are admitting this isn't the same city they grew up in. And let's not forget the cost of living. Taxes are sky high, and the city's debt is out of control. With billions owed in pensions and infrastructure repairs, Chicago is on the verge of financial collapse. So what's next for Chicago? Is there still hope for a comeback, or will this once great city continue its rapid decline? Stick around, because the next city on this list may not be as infamous, but it's facing a collapse just as severe. Number 1. Cincinnati, Ohio. The signs are everywhere: empty storefronts, rising crime, and people leaving in record numbers. But you wouldn't expect this from a city with such a rich history. Welcome to Cincinnati. Cincinnati was once a booming industrial powerhouse. It had jobs, a thriving downtown, and a strong middle class. But today, it's falling apart. The poverty rate has climbed past 25%, crime is on the rise, and entire neighborhoods feel abandoned. And the economy? It's failing. Manufacturing jobs that once sustained this city have vanished, and new industries haven't filled the gap. Cincinnati's unemployment rate remains stubbornly high, and businesses that once thrived are shutting their doors for good. But the real problem? Crime. Cincinnati now ranks among the most dangerous cities in Ohio, with violent crime rates nearly double the national average. Even areas once considered safe are now hotspots for gang activity and drug-related violence. And people have had enough. The population has been shrinking for years, with families and young professionals fleeing to safer, more prosperous cities. Even Cincinnati's downtown, which once showed signs of revival, is struggling, with vacant buildings and struggling businesses everywhere. So, is Cincinnati too far gone? Or is there still time for a turnaround? Before we wrap up, let's talk about what all these cities have in common. We've seen the decline. Once thriving cities now struggling to survive. Crime, poverty, economic collapse, it's happening all across America. But what's next? Can these cities recover, or are they doomed to fade into history? One thing is certain: people are leaving. The American landscape is shifting, and these once booming urban centers are losing their grip. If you live in one of these cities, what's keeping you there? And if you're thinking of moving, where would you go next? Before you go, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep bringing you content like this. If you want to stay ahead of what's happening in America, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.